Because that was enjoyable, because obviously we have a real life Protestant there. He said he's a Calvinist, so that's nice to get these people. Obviously he needs to go, but it's a strange religion, Calvinism, because there you're taught, and the famous Calvinist James White, whose book, some of which I've got, says that God has predetermined your destiny. Before you're even born, it's determined you're going to hell or going to heaven. So you can forgive a person who's like on Skid Row or doing drugs or whatever, or he's done terrible things in his life. You can say, well, look, it was in the cards that I'd be like this. That's Calvinism. Now, I can understand where it comes from, because in St. Paul, and in fact the Bible generally, God is absolutely sovereign. So how can we speak about free will? It seems bizarre. I mean, I've got a thick book by a famous Dominican priest called Reginald Garrigou-Lagrange, who lived in the early 20th century. And it's all about predestination. And he talks about this was grappled with in the medieval period by men like Thomas Aquinas. And it's this idea, how can we be having free will, and yet God knows our future? Well, the point is, we end up saying it's a divine mystery. We do actually have free will, yet there is predestination. So you cannot deny either of those. And this all gets reconciled in God. He will no doubt explain this to us in ways which won't use human language, because our language is limited, but we'll know it will be infused knowledge in heaven. It is important to know there are divine mysteries, that human language can only naturally go a certain way, because it is a limited thing, being human, and God is infinite. And reality, even material reality, is beyond the scope of human language to embrace. So certainly the things of God are way beyond that, since the things of God are infinite. But a Calvinist is a classical type of heretic. These are people who take a truth and go too far with it. By saying, for example, there's no free will in Calvinism, there's no real free will, it's an illusion. And in fact, in philosophy, determinists are like this. Big study in philosophy at university, free will versus determinism. But in religion, it's a catastrophe. And that's why there's a lot of pushback against the Calvinist religion, even amongst Protestants. You can go to another extreme. Christ is fully man. So you get the Arians in the 4th century saying, yes, he's a man, so he's just a creature. Again, taking that aspect of Christ too far. Then you get in Egypt, the Alexandrian, the Copts. They say he's fully God and fully man in a sense, but the divinity overwhelms the humanity, so that really there's only the appearance of humanity. That's monophysitism. And so you can see how people go to one extreme or the other. But the Catholic way, the Catholic Church, and G.K. Chesterton, in his book Orthodoxy, before his conversion to Catholicism, talks about the Catholic Church being like it's like I don't know, if I remember it correctly, like a horse-drawn carriage that's galloping along a very narrow lane. And it could go this way, it could go that way, but it's kept in position. The horses are crazy, but they're kept in position, and they follow the right way, and they don't go off the cliff either way or either that way or that way. That's Catholicism. And it embraces all elements of Holy Scripture. The Muslims, they saw the Christian tradition that Christ is fully man. So they couldn't accept that he was God. They also, their general belief is like the Calvinist, in that one is predetermined. There's not really in classical Islam, no free will. Like the Calvinist, before you're born, it's determined where you go. And the Hadith say that clearly.
They don't say that. They don't say that.
The Muslims do. They say classical Islam, predestination, like Calvinist Christianity. Before you're born, your destiny is fixed. And in fact, there's a hadith which says, you might be a terrible man all the way through your life, but you're predestined to go to Jannah, their heaven. And at the last moment, you will change and become a good man. Thus, you'll end up in heaven. You could be a good man all your life, but you're predestined to hell in Islam. So at the last minute, you'll become a nasty man. And that will show, because you're predestined. No matter what you're doing right now, you will justify Allah's decision to send you to heaven or hell. And I guess that's kind of like Calvinism. But Calvinism comes after Islam. We must not pretend, we must not say that as Islam copies Calvinism, it doesn't. So there we have some fundamentals about Christianity.